Hey, welcome to another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin. Hope everyone's good today. We are going to be talking today to a current dental student who is almost halfway. No, she's halfway through her dental school experience, going into her D3 year, her third year dental school. But she's also looking into residency programs, and she has some questions about this new dental exam called the ADAT. It's called the Advanced Dental Admissions Test. So she has some questions about that, and we're actually going to be talking and giving her some strategies and an update of that. So I think it'll be best. Let's get her on the call, and she can ask her question more in detail once we get her on the call, and that way we can see how we can help her. All right. So this is student. Well, she's going to get on the phone. Let's see. All right, let's get this call.
Hello?
Hi, Student Dr Chineri. How you doing? It's Dr. Hayes.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. So, hey, I'm so glad we're able to connect today. I know you've been busy out doing some... you were at an outreach earlier today, right, for the school?
I was at a volunteer event. It was Hope Yes at Howard.
Okay.
So we brought in some high schoolers and started to introduce them to the dental profession.
Oh, that's great. Getting the pre-dentals up and ready and getting them some more information, huh?
Yes.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
That's good. Keep up the good work. So I got you on today's episode of Ask Dr. Darwin, and I know you had a question. So what I would like to do is have you give a little bit of a background about yourself, who you are, where you're from, your current status, and your question as it relates to what your question is, and basically why you're asking that question, and that way we can kind of give everybody a kind of an idea and some foundation behind the question, and then we can go right into getting you an answer. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay.
So my name is DrDarwin Mbadwie, and I'm actually Canadian. I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, which is Western Canada.
Okay.
And I did my undergraduate degree there.
Okay.
I started dental school at Howard University in 2015, so I'll be graduating in 2019.
2019, right?
Yeah, so that makes me a rising P3 right now.
Okay. Good. Awesome. Well, congratulations for getting through the first 2 years of dental school. Usually that's the hump right there.
Yes, the D2 year was difficult.
Yes. So congratulations on that. And now welcome to D3 year and clinic.
Thank you.
That's great. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
So I guess my question relates to the ADAT because now that I'm a rising D3, I'm looking into what I'm going to be doing after dental school. And I know that a lot of the programs require, there's a lot of requirements. So the ADAT is one of the newer ones that some of the programs are now implementing. So I just wanted to get your opinion on it.
So you're talking about, want to get more information, in my opinion, on the ADAT. So let's tell everybody what that is. The ADAT is a new test that came out, actually started last year, was the first year. It's a test that's offered and administered by the American Dental Association. ADAT stands for Advanced Dental Admissions Test. And it's an exam that is accepted by over 185 programs, advanced dental programs like GPR, AGD, and all these specialty programs, endo, pedo, orthodontics, oral surgery, etc. It's usually offered at test centers throughout the country in the U.S. and also in Canada. This exam is like 4.5 hours. It's long. It's 4.5 hours, and the topics in the exam that are covered include biomed sciences, There's some information. There's some sections on data and research interpretation, how you interpret certain types of research, and then also the big one, which is evidence-based dentistry. So those are some of the actual topics that are in that exam. And typically, one of the reasons why this exam came about was the brainchild of the ADA and a couple other testing agencies. They were looking for ways to help advanced dental education programs in being able to select and utilize that, being able to select candidates for their various residency programs. And another reason I think that this big exam came about, was because of the fact of some of the changes that have been going on in the testing throughout dentistry, the actual the applications and different testing that are going out throughout the whole, all the schools, testing as it relates to really kind of marking and quantifying students' rank and their positions at school, and then also on some of the exams that you'll take as a dental student. So more specifically, one of the changes that has happened throughout many of the schools is that now there are some schools that there is no ranking. There is no ranking as in number 1 through number 100. Some schools don't even do that anymore. Also, another set of changes that have come about is that some schools don't give a letter grade anymore. There are no more A's or B's or C's or what have you. Now schools are going to the medical model, which is pretty much pass-fail. Pass-fail. Schools like Columbia, Harvard, I think maybe UPenn, and there's several other schools that just do pass-fail now. All right. What else is going on? Ranking, pass-fail. Also, what has occurred recently is the national boards that you'll take as a dental student. You take this 2 parts, National Board of Dental Exam. Before, you had a number grade as to where you scored, 90, 92, 85. Well, they've eliminated that also, and now it's just, again, pass-fail, pass-fail. So with those 3 or 4 things that have changed over the last several years, one of the challenges that a lot of program directors and other programs have is they can't utilize those statistics or those measurements anymore, because for some schools they don't exist. For some everyone takes the National Board of Dental Exam, but now instead of having candidates that have a grade associated with their application, now it's just pass-fail. So a lot of programs that were used to utilizing class ranking and national board scores and their GPA. Also, that's another thing. GPA is not being recorded by some schools. So now residency programs that used to use those 3 things, they can't use them anymore. They're gone. So I think that also came into play here with this new exam being developed and now utilized by over 185 post-grad programs. So that's a little bit of the history of the exam. Typically, the people that take them are like yourself, D3s and D4s that are applying into residency programs. I will tell you, though, that not all the programs accept it, or I should say, not all the programs require it. So when you are starting to look through programs that you're interested in, you definitely want to make sure that you look and scan for, on the website, scan for whether or not the ADAT is accepted. Is it optional? Is it required? Because if it is required and you don't take the exam, you may not even have your application reviewed. Okay, and I think that's been one of the challenges and controversies behind this new exam, because it's new, right? It's new, number one. Number two, the cost of it. It costs $350 for all the applicants. And depending on how many scores that you want programs to get your score, how many schools or programs that you want to be notified about your scores, will also change and fluctuate the cost of the exam. Now, I remember as a dental student not having a lot of money, even through loans and things like that. So having another exam that actually costs money that I have to pay for as a dental student, it could be an obstacle. And I think that's one of the controversies and one of the challenges for some students. Also, I think one of the other controversies is, from the student perspective that I've heard and been involved with some of the developmental parts of this exam through ADAT, which is the American Dental Education Association, is that even though there was some reaching out to student and other student groups about the exam, I'm not sure how much input they really took from those meetings based on the student's perspective. I know a lot of students that I've been in contact with feel like, it's just another exam that they have to take, and it's kind of cumbersome. It's just too much. So I think that's been a controversy or part of the controversy that has maybe deterred some students from taking it, depending on which program either accepts it or if it's optional. And I think it can possibly hurt some programs in having, qualified or a number of candidates apply to the program, especially if it's mandatory. I think if it's optional for some programs, it may not hurt their applicant pool, but I know specifically two programs, one in pedo, one in ortho, where last year, the first year, they made it mandatory, and they saw close to a 50% drop in the number of applicants for their programs. So overall, it could be a deterrent for programs or just for students who are applying the program. So that's another part of the controversy that surrounds this exam. Trying to think of some other points about it as it relates to my opinion. I know for our particular GPR program at Bronx Lebanon, it's optional. It's not mandatory. It's optional. Again, the test is being promoted as another, another tool or another piece of information that can be utilized in conjunction with, ongoing admissions tools that programs are looking at to assess candidates. In addition to that, the testing service that puts on the exam specifies that there's really two parts that programs and candidates should be looking at. Two parts of the exam. And I wrote it down because I thought it was very interesting. It said to focus on two parts, which was the overall score and then also the critical thinking scores. The overall score of the exam and then also the critical thinking part of the exam. Didn't say too much about the data and research interpretation. Didn't say too much about evidence-based dentistry or the biomedical sciences. Again, I think because most of that is covered in Part 1 and Part 2 of the National Dental Board exam. So, again, for the ADAT, the testing service that puts it on says focus on the overall score and also on the critical thinking part of the exam. So, so overall, I mean, my feeling behind it, I think it's just personally, I think it's a deterrent for students, especially this is the second year that it's being offered. And they also have a limited time that you can actually take the exam. There's a testing window, like for 2017, you can only take it up through, I think it's August 31st. So only up until the end of August can you take the exam. All right. Um, and another thing about the exam is that either your score and or your percentile range, what percentile range you're in once you take the exam, that range can change as there are more people taking the score. So say you're in the 95th percentile range for the exam, and you take it say in May. Well, by the time the exam is taken again in July by other candidates, your score can actually go up higher or it can go lower, all of which programs will actually look at. So that's kind of controversial as it relates to the exam also. So again, my overall opinion is that, for programs like ours, we leave it optional. It's just another assessment tool that maybe we can use as part of assessing your candidacy. For me, as a GPR director, it's not going to make or break your application. There's other things that I think are more important to us as program directors that may not necessarily be demonstrated in the exam. Especially programs where there's some scientific, there's a requirement for scientific, what is it called? Scientific critical review of literature. I mean, you're going to get some of that already in your residency program. It's mandatory that schools teach it, evidence-based dentistry, that schools teach it. And also GPR programs, AGD programs have to have that element in their curriculums also. So you'll get some of that as a candidate. Eventually, when you get into a program, you'll get some of that anyway. I think the main thing is that it could be useful for is the evaluation of critical thinking, which you'll have a lot. You'll be learning more on how to do that when you're actually treatment planning more patients and coming up with treatment plans and plans of actions for them. But again, it's a teaching environment. You're going to learn that. You're going to learn how to become better critical thinkers as it relates to devising treatment plans and patient-centered or patient-focused care for the people that you're taking care of. So you'll learn some more of that as a resident. So again, for me, it's not a make or break type of exam or requirement, but again, you have to check and review and investigate the programs that you're applying to see whether or not it is a requirement or their viewpoint on the exam. And I think that's the best way to kind of go about it and approach it.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess I'm wondering if there's any information on how similar the ADAT is to the NBDE Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, well, good question. Well, you know what? I think the best thing for you to do, I'm going to send you to a couple of websites that actually explain this whole exam, what it's about, how to apply for it, how to prepare for it, how to use the scores. If you just Google ADAT, what you'll find is that it'll come up. There will be a link to the ADA, the American Dental Association, the ADA.org, and you just put in, search the site, put in ADAT, and you'll come up with a lot of information about the exam. Basically, that information will be as follows. Like I said, it'll tell you how to prepare for the exam. It'll tell you about the scores, where to take it, and another resource for you about the ADAT. I think you should go to ASDA, the American Student Dental Association. I don't know if you're an ASDA member at your school, but they have a website. I'm actually checking it now. I think it's asda.net or asdanet.org, one of the two. But just Google ASDA, American Student Dental Association, and they have lots of resources one of which is information more about this ADAT. And that'll help you start to investigate the similarities or differences between the two exams.
Okay.
I would also encourage you to go to another website, another resource called Student Doctor. Have you heard of that one before, Student Doctor?
The Student Doctor Network?
Student Doctor Network, exactly. Even though it's more of a medical doctor resource, there is a section in there for dentistry and dental students, and there may be some discussion on some of the boards, the discussion boards there about this exam. There could be some students that have taken it last year, their feedback. Could be some current residents that took it last year as it relates to what they thought about it and how it came into play, and which is your question, how it's similar or different than the National Boards Part 1 and Part 2.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So does that kind of answer your question about the ADAT and how to prepare for it, or what, just what it's all about?
Yeah, I think you gave me a lot of information.
Yeah, I think the main take home is, depending on what programs that you're applying to will determine whether or not, you'll need to take it.
Okay.
And even though, you're still about a year away from actually maybe taking the exam, but you can take it as early as your D3 year, which is this year. It's just that you have a window. There is a small window. You have up until the end of August to take it. Now, I will share with you another tip as it relates to the cost, because again, this is a common complaint that I've heard from students that have taken it. It's another exam I've got to take. Some more money I've got to spend in addition to applying to residency programs and the separate application process, and that costs money. Now I have to take this, possibly have to take this ADAT exam, which costs $350. They do offer a fee waiver for students. It's called
that's good to know.
Yeah, it's good to know. It's a partial fee waiver, up to, I think, and including, it's 50% off, but the student has to submit documentation that shows that you have a financial, quote unquote, financial hardship. So that's, a good point about it, that they're offering that to people, but it's on a first come, first served basis. And they usually open it up at the beginning of the year. So, usually the first 3 or 4 months of the year, up through, maybe March or April, lots of times the free waivers that they granted people are used up. So you just have to check and see what the status of those fee waivers are as it relates to right now in June. But that is something to consider if you're not taking it this time around. If you're taking it during your D3 year, but as a D3 that's in January 2018, again, it's first come, first serve. So if you haven't taken it before, you're eligible to submit a partial fee waiver in 2018, starting January 1st. So I would tell you, submit it early if you're thinking about doing it later on in your D3 year.
Okay.
All right.
All right, that makes sense.
So good. So I'm glad. So thanks so much for the question. I think you, like a lot of other D3s and D4s, have the same question and concerns about this exam and how it relates to, the viewpoint of program directors and programs and how they assess and use this additional means of evaluating you as a candidate. So I'm glad that's been helpful. Anytime you have questions, anytime you need some help with them, with anything like you've done in the past, just shoot me an email at newdentistcoach@gmail.com, newdentistcoach@gmail.com. Also, if you have some classmates that are similar to you that are looking into residency programs or just want to get some additional information and tips and strategies, have them subscribe to my YouTube page, which is Dr. Darwin Speaks on YouTube, Dr. Darwin Speaks. And I think you've subscribed, right? Have you subscribed already?
I'm not sure. I actually don't have a YouTube account.
Okay.
So I don't think I would have subscribed, but I will keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely, because one of the things that's nice if you have a YouTube, I mean you have Gmail, I think, so as long as you've got
yes,
Gmail,
I have
Gmail and YouTube are connected. But what's nice about it is if you subscribe, every time whoever's channel that you subscribe to, anytime they upload any videos, you'll get a notification automatically. And in my particular case, when I submit and upload videos like this one I'll do, you can actually go right to the video, and it's an instantaneous resource or instant resource for you. And I have a lot of videos on questions just like the one that you had. I also have some tips and strategies on how to apply to residency programs, what program directors are looking for, some bonus information about specific residency, like specialty programs and things like that I think are very, very helpful that you're not going to learn in dental school, that your instructors are not going to be able to share with you. So something to consider and just share with your other classmates and colleagues, okay?
Okay.
Great,
that sounds good.
great.
I'll check it out.
All right, perfect. So congratulations again, finishing that second year of dental school and welcoming you into the clinic now. Be sure to get those requirements done early if you can.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I keep hearing that.
Yes, get it done early. Don't mess around to your senior year, because this time next year you're going to be going through this residency application process, which is going to be a new process for you, something that you have to learn as you go through it. So it's going to take up some time in addition to seeing patients. So now's the time to try to go through your patient Rolodex and provide the care that they need and check off your requirements this D3 year. So good luck.
Thanks so much.
All right, I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so great. We got student Dr. Chineri on her way. Got her an answer about the ADAT and another successful coaching call on Ask Dr. Darwin. Take care. Talk to you soon. See ya.